And turning to news from South Africa now, President Jacob Zuma has survived yet another vote of no confidence. It's the 8th time he's survived such a motion. Parliamentary Speaker Baleka Mbete has just announced the results in Parliament. 198 MPs voted against the motion of no confidence, while 177 voted in favour. This means the opposition's motion of no confidence against President Zuma has failed yet again. It is the first time that such a vote took place via secret ballot. Now, let's take a look at the moment of that results announcement.
I have received a written report on the results of the votes from the Secretary of the National Assembly. The results of the vote by secret ballot are as follows. The total votes, 384. The yes, 177. The no, 198. And there were 9 abstentions. And therefore, the motion of no confidence in the President is accordingly negatived.
Well, let's get to the latest now from Johannesburg, South Africa, where CGTN's Yolisa Njamela joins us live. Yolisa, of course, the President survives yet another vote of no confidence, but some might say that today was a close call for President Zuma. Just take us through what happened in Parliament.
Well, indeed, Lindy, as you're saying, it was a close call for the first time since there were these motion of no confidence against President Zuma. As you rightly said, this is the 8th attempt. But the difference with this one in particular, essentially, is that it was held in secret. And that is because the opposition parties were hoping, they believed that some ANC MPs will in fact vote with them to oust President Jacob Zuma from office. And that is also because many ANC MPs have been vocal, have been speaking out to say they will vote with their conscience. And their conscience, essentially, when they explained to many of us, was that they will vote against President Jacob Zuma. It's the same MPs, same ANC executive committee members who had failed within the structures of the ANC to have President Jacob Zuma removed. Many opposition parties sincerely believe that they had lobbied enough MPs. But as you're saying, it's very close this time, and it's different from the previous 7 occasions where President Jacob Zuma, or rather opposition parties, tried to remove President Jacob Zuma from the office. You'll remember, of course, Lindy, that in December, the ANC, the ruling ANC, is holding its National Elective Congress, and President Jacob Zuma is expected to step down, and the presidential candidates that we know, a number of them from the ANC, are supposed to take over. So ANC members and ANC leadership, they were in pains to say, let us not let the outsiders dictate to us what we're supposed to do, because all ANC, in fact, the top 6 was going around the country telling the branches, telling the provincial structures, the regional structures that, in fact, what the opposition parties are doing are trying to ascend to power via the back door, and they were adamant that that will not happen. What happens now, Lindy, it would seem that the ANC can see that there's a lot of frustrations within the party, and there's been factions that were clear, especially coming from the recent policy conference that the party held. But after all is said and done, President Jacob Zuma remains the president of the country.
But even so, Yolisa, one might argue that despite the president's survival of this no-motion vote, the ANC is not unscathed by today's events. What would you say is the implication of this vote going forward?
Well, the ANC is not unscathed at all. I mean, we've been speaking to many political analysts who were saying, moving towards this vote today, you could see that a number of senior ANC MPs a number of ANC lawmakers, a number of ANC leaders in general were vocal. This is unprecedented. We haven't seen ANC members in this kind of numbers coming out and speaking against the president, their own president who they have elected, members who have tried to oust him from within the party. So it is really frustrating and is really worrying for many who are within the structure. But you'll also remember, Lindy, that there are structures like the veterans of the ANC who have come out to voice their dissatisfaction with the way, the style and the way that President Jacob Zuma is ruling, and they've been asking for him to be removed, accusing him of many things, including corruption. Well, you remember this particular motion was brought about by that controversial reshuffle that saw the well-respected Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan being fired by President Jacob Zuma. So it would seem many factions within the ANC is certainly not unified at this point.
Yoli Santamela, thanks very much for that update. Joining us live there from Johannesburg.